What's good YouTube, and welcome to Konami cashing in on those member berries. I remember Blue Eyes White Dragon, White Lightning Attack. I remember Yugi's Mirror Force, it took care of everything. I remember Jinzo, Joy was so cool with it. Konami's not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They plan to make boatloads of money and already are. There are record sales starting to happen on these. People are just going after this in droves, and I do think people outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! Are looking at base set reprinted. I'm gonna go ahead and get myself a ton of these. While I'm not a financial advisor channel, I don't know the future of these cards, if Konami's going to print them at the beginning of 25th anniversary and at the very end take store orders again and re-wave it, or if it'll be years from now before we see these sets again. I wanted to break down the history of some of these sets and my thoughts now that I've had time to let it sink in. A couple of days from the announcement, I've been looking at these and I want to rank all of the new products. So let's go ahead and start with the in-depth discussion part of these. Legendary Collection pre-sales are pretty darn good for the game boards. At $400 over here at Big 3, code What's Good 5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly will make it even cheaper. And going in on a case, it is 4 total displays and each display has 5 boxes. That brings down each $32 box to around $19 each. It's pretty darn good in terms of getting the price down. Now over on Tier 0, if you're getting the EU edition, assuming there is a difference in the print, sometimes between the different regions there isn't a difference and often there is. Over here their version is a bit more expensive and it looks like theirs are 12 displays per case. I believe that will be after code What's Good 5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly around $25.60. Now they have a good reason for that. They're doing free international shipping. This set has one extra booster pack than the other reprinted booster boxes. That's Dark Crisis. It's not like a huge fan favorite, but it has Exodia and Necros on the cover and inside, so it's something else it has that the others don't, and it has quarter century rare debuting in it. I do think one thing that it heavily has going for it on top of all this is everybody's drooling. They want to open these packs, and it comes out before all of the other products. It's going to come out at 420 Blaze It on the EU site, 419 at OTS stores, 421 over here in the US, and I think that this having the debut of a new rarity is huge for it. It's basically going to replace Starlights for the year over in the OCG. We would think that will follow suit in the TCG, but there's a lot of variables to these products that we currently don't know. Like, we don't know if the card layouts are going to stay completely classic, if they're not going to touch up the text, if they'll keep the, classic text like the last Legendary Collections have, and there's a lot of question marks on that. Like, could they sneak quarter century rarity into these packs, or will they only keep it classic? Because these are all the way in July, and they could be updating that description later or doing something else. Although, unlike usual, they do not have the set content subject to change down here. Maybe they feel they don't need it because they already have printed these packs once before for the most part, right? So they're probably pretty confident in the products that they are giving. And again, already legal street date debut because all of these cards will have been printed before. So let's go ahead and talk about the game board edition a little more. It's going to be here first. It has an extra pack. I think that it will do pretty well as a product because historically, these products, despite being rewaved into the ground, sell pretty well. When we look over on TCG Player, people aren't even fire selling the ones they have. Like 150 was the cheapest on announcement, and we have barely a couple under that at 139 and then 14 at 145. People aren't running away from these. They're saying, okay, well, they're still going to date themselves, so these packs aren't going to have the 25th logo slapped on it, which I'm proud of Konami for actually doing, making a difference on top of the packs themselves that are inside of here, rather than just letting them be among the other classic packs where people chase after them oh so hard. People were spending $2,000 on unlimited LOB boxes, so getting those packs together from the Legendary Collections with them not being true like 2002 packs, people would be mad over spending on loose packs as well. So this will have 6 different packs in it. It will be here before the others, and it's going to meet that demand wave of people being extremely thirsty for these sets because of this early announcement, but being 3 months-ish ahead of the others, because the rest of them, they don't show up until July. So let's go ahead and go through the classic sets reprinted. Legend of Blue Eyes, mainstay in the community, base set for Yu-Gi-Oh! And it has a really good sales rates on its loose packs, despite them being so easy access within the community throughout the years. You'll still see these appear in the mystery power boxes and stuff like that from the legendary collections that eventually got clearanced at one point. Yeah, they did not last on the shelf for the longest time, but at the same time, that's because they got bought out in droves to be chopped up into mystery power boxes. And after that happened, there's a lot less of them, and the product starts to age due to those member berries that we were talking about and nostalgia feelings. So it's not like it's the strongest product in the world for the Game Board Edition, but the strongest pack in there by far in terms of people wanting to go after it is LOB. Now, I think with the new packs, people are going to be opening this in droves for just the fun of it, but also to grade. I think a lot of people are going to circle this like vultures, and it's towards the fallout of the grading craze, but a lot of people are still sending in huge submissions and going after that, and I think you're going to see huge populations of people going in. And the card stock lately, it has been good. Out of Mavens, out of Battles of Legend, cardstock has returned to a more premium feel and quality, less misprints that have been happening. The ones that have happened are somewhat desirable, but less like damaged out the pack cards have been happening versus the prior sets. So I hope that continues heading into it. It seems like they have a lot more cardstock because they're doing unlimited power of the elements. They're doing other sets that they usually wouldn't have done during the cardstock shortage, and they're starting to print out more cards here. So Legend of Blue Eyes, I think, is probably the strongest runner in terms of packs out of everything, and I really do feel like it's what people will go in the most, meaning there will also be the most of it. When you look at people going in this in terms of an investment, you've got to remember how many different people are going to go freaking deep on this, and they're going to want to hit returns at certain point. Like there's going to be people that buy a ton of this and then want to sell half once it hits double. Meaning there's also going to be people that hit 1.5 and they just want to clear out, make their money, and move to the next product, even though this feels like a longer term thing. Then there's going to be people who are waiting for 2x, get impatient, want their money back, they see it hit 1.7, 1.8, and they just want out. So getting to that 2x might be relatively difficult on some of these packs. At the same time, they have an amazing name for themselves being among the classics, and it's going to be interesting to see demand versus pre-orders versus printing versus if Konami would re-wave it within the year to cash back in. That is a possibility, but it has the biggest sales rates by far. Metal Raiders is the next set in line of chronological order of release back in the day. Not of my rankings, we'll do the rankings at the end. Metal Raiders, I feel like, is one of those that has a lot of really cool cards like Mirror Force, but at the same time, Mushroom Man number 2. I can't help myself with that one. People were like, Mushroom Man Reaper, let's go. But when it comes down to Metal Raiders, I do think a lot of people are pretty fond of it, and it stands out from the crowd for different reasons than the other sets. Like, when we're looking at Spell Ruler, it just has broken card after broken card. It's got Forceful Confi Duo, the Hand Rippers, it's got freaking Painful Choice, and honestly, I wish they would do some text upgrades / erratas in there, not to make them off the ban list, but just to fix the text up a bit. But people want their classic cards, and I have to imagine they'll keep it classic, but we'll have to wait and see. So Spell Ruler is one of those sets that really broke the game and turned it into different strategies like the Recruiters and floating and those kinds of things. Now, Spell Ruler packs, they don't go for the most. There's a lot of Spell Ruler out there, and I feel like in terms of sealed boxes also, there was just a ton of Magic Ruler. It was one of the last classic sets to go when people were buying out old school boxes. So I do feel like there's just a ton of it despite the brokenness to it. Pharaoh's Servant is an interesting one because you do have Jinzo, you have Thousand Eye Restrict, you have cards that even float back into the meta game today, and it has those kinds of elements, but for how much these sets will be ripped open, I don't think single chasing is probably a great idea. You already look at the prices right now on a lot of those unlimited singles, and now imagine how flooded the market's going to get with stuff like this. But Pharaoh Servant goes for just a little bit more than Magic/Spell Ruler currently. Spell Ruler is what I meant to say there, and looking through here, yeah, people are still buying it here and there. Invasion of Chaos is kind of that curveball of, oh yeah, you got the meta people having the member berries over the show people. Now there is DMOC there, of course, but you've got Chaos Emperor Dragon, you've got BLS Envoy, you have the things people want to go after to play and have that tournament legacy inside of it. So you have a different mix of nostalgia between old and tournament, and the IOC packs, they do okay for themselves. They go, you know, around 12, 13 also, and they've varied in range over time, but there's a lot less of them on the current listings when it comes down to it. So how would I rank these? I think I would put LOB at first place. I don't think that's going to be disputable for the most part. Let me know in the comment section down below if you do. But LOB itself, in terms of having sealed boxes of this in cases, it's the beta, it's the classic, it's what people are going to go after the most out of all of these, in my opinion, and it's going to be ripped open a lot. You're going to see it on YouTube. You're going to probably see people that don't even normally do Yu-Gi-Oh videos do it, just like you'll see people that don't usually buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards buy into this one. In second place, I'm actually going to put the game boards, because they're going to come out first. They're going to run into that demand that everybody's mouth-watering for this, and I think it's going to get ripped open a lot more than people realize as people dive their money in even further, and later, 3 whole months later, a quarter of a year, quarter century, but people are going to be seeing these all the way in July versus these out in April, and they're going to want to prepare, they're going to want to get their cards, and it's also going to kind of take away from the other sets because all of those packs are inside here along with that quarter century rare. So I do hope there is a curveball inside of the other packs, and this ranking is on the current knowledge that we know. I'm going to put the game boards in second place, and third place, it's really close for me, but I'm going to put Invasion of Chaos ahead of MRD in fourth. Invasion of Chaos meets that sweet point of having the mix of meta people remembering this as well as the actual show cards being inside too. Metal Raiders, the second set, I have a soft spot in my heart for it. I really wanted to put it higher, but all of these sets are inside the game board. That's why I put it in second place. Like, you have all of them plus another one, Exodia Necros, but DCR is not the biggest deal in the world. It's more having that classic quarter century rare card along with all the packs. I feel like with Metal Raiders, it's just a really solid set. It did elevate the game, but it also it's lacking a little something to it. Then I'm going to put Pharaoh Servant ahead of Spell Ruler, and the main reason is not the cards inside. Spell Ruler is amazing, and to be in last place in this list, it's still a really good list. Pharaoh Servant has Jinzo, which is a secret rare which people are going to chase after harder, meaning this will get ripped open a bit more. At the top end of this, you've got Blue Eyes Toon, and while it's a neat card, I feel like Jinzo just has this legacy in the game, and then you also have an Ultra where you do have the Thousand Eye Restrict, and it's such a cool card, and it still gets played, and it has past formats like GOAT. This had a lot of cards that ended up getting banned before the past formats that get commonly played. And I think that's what really hurts Spell Ruler to a degree, and it also was just printed so much. There was so much of it around that it's still readily available, and it's one of the cheaper packs for a reason. But let me know what you thought of my ranking. And to make it clear, first place, Legend of Blue Eyes. Second place, Legendary Collection. Third place is IOC. Fourth place is Metal Raider. Fifth place, Pharaoh Servant, and sixth place, Spell Ruler. That's the order I would be putting these in. And how would I approach this set? Again, I think a lot of people are going to go super deep into that, meaning it's going to be very competitive, but you can see structure decks with set list, like the Sacred Beast ones, end up aging well even after reprinted cards and upgraded rarities, and these have RNG to them. I think a lot of people are going to rip them open for the experience. You will see them continue to move, and then you've got the question of people buckling versus like, oh, are they going to do a 30th anniversary edition? Is this getting reprinted 30th? Oh, is it going to be, all the way to the 50th? You will see people act and sell out based off of those kinds of fears, speculations, and theories. So I think this is going to be a very competitive secondary market on these cards, which is why I personally wouldn't go super deep, but again, people that go for broke, sometimes they really make it, and sometimes they go broke. So I'm usually not really about that life. I don't really go super deep into things. I might go for a case or two depending on your bankroll, how sound it is to set that aside, but think about how long your money would be tied up into these versus being able to flip your money again, and again at percentages and then surpassing this sitting there. But again, people like to have that passive thing, and then you still have to fade reprint fears on this set, which could or could not happen, but this is the fourth printing of Legendary Collection. It's more than likely going to happen, but we don't know when, where, or if. Thanks for watching today's video. This is as unbiased as I feel like I can be towards these because I still have those special feelings towards a lot of these sets. I was there when they all came out. LOB was my first set that I ended up buying. I love the Legendary Collections themselves, and I do think that I would probably approach the sets in the orders that I gave, but it can turn out differently. The game boards, maybe they end up insanely super ordered and people really want those booster boxes, but in terms of everything, I feel like it's just so hard not to have LOB in first place. It's almost impossible. But yeah, the Legendary Collection has all of them, including LOB inside.